It's a makeshift gathering there of people showing up. He mentioned one elderly woman showing up, believing her granddaughter may have been a victim. Again, we're talking about 9 dead and also more than a dozen injured or shot, and shot, I should say. And as people show up, whether it be at the convention center or at that Arby's or simply on the scene, it's very clear that many of them understandably don't know if their loved one is alive. And if they are, they don't know where they are. They may know that they've been taken, but there are now more than a half dozen hospitals involved in this treating patients. So again, we will have Team 7 coverage. Also, we have Gabrielle Enright in the newsroom. She's keeping a close eye. She's been personally touched by this. As many people, as they wake up this morning and the sun begins to rise and they turn on their television sets and they realize, oh my goodness, this coming off the tail end, I want to say, one of the first tweets I got was actually from the BBC. So people around the world now hearing about this. And again, this just on the tail end of that horrific mass shooting there in El Paso, Texas, where more than 20 people were killed. And now it's happened right here in our own backyard.
I couldn't believe it. I got the text at 2:37. This happened about 1:22 this morning in the Oregon district. Police told us a couple of hours afterward that they recapped it for us that a suspect carrying a long gun started firing, had multiple rounds with him. So if there's anything, several things to be thankful for, that police were on patrol in the Oregon district and that it was a very short timeline of violence, but he did manage to shoot and kill 9 innocent people before police shot and killed him. We don't know anything else about him. We don't have any information on that shooter yet. But our concern right now is with the victims.
Yeah.
We know police officers are well trained. Dayton police are well trained in active shooter, and they use that training well. The officers from multiple jurisdictions converged on the Oregon district in Dayton. The FBI came in to assist. Dayton Fire responded. 21 medic units were on scene to take injured to hospitals. There was triage set up there. And of course, now the Family Assistance Center at Dayton Convention Center. But as daylight breaks on the Oregon district in downtown Dayton, one of the wonderful places in downtown Dayton, a safe area, a place that people frequent of all ages. And after 1 a.m. on a beautiful Saturday night, someone decided to take out whatever anger or frustrations, whatever senseless frustrations expressed in a senseless way, I should say. Not that people's frustrations are senseless, but to act in such a manner to kill innocent people who are enjoying a Saturday night. And now we have 9 people dead and families waking up to this news and trying to get information. And we're doing our best to get you the information. From what we're hearing from hospitals, again, we know that there's one in critical condition at Miami Valley Hospital. A couple were treated and released from Kettering. So there's some bits of good news in there, but it's just a terrible last 5 hours.
And as we heard witnesses say, as always in the Oregon district on Saturday night, there were many birthday parties there, people gathering simply because it was a beautiful night. So again, we do want to be abundantly clear that we will have you covered as this goes on. We have Team 7 coverage. We're covering every angle of this story and we'll stay on scene. And the reason I say that is because emergency officials and first responders, they have enough going on there at the scene. So as the sun comes up, please do not, if you don't need to, go to this scene just to see what is happening. That will simply add to the crowd. If you do have a family member or loved one that you cannot.
Okay, we're taking a look inside the Dayton Convention Center. This is the Family Assistance Center, and you can see, people waiting for word, and it's got to be very stressful. They're waiting to possibly hear about loved ones who may have been downtown. And our senior executive producer just sent me this, that CNN is reporting that this mass shooting suspect wore body armor. The suspect in the killing of 9 people and injuring at least 16 others in the Oregon district. This was according to Deb Decker, the Montgomery County Emergency Services Public Information Officer. Shooting happened after 1 a.m., which we know is the suspect was making his way toward Ned Pepper's bar. Now, we know from police that this happened in the street. There's the Arby's. You can see that Wayne Baker was referenced earlier, where some of the families are gathering on the north end of the Oregon district. But This did not happen inside Ned Pepper's. It happened out in the street. As people were walking by, people even used cars to shield themselves from the shooter. Mike Campbell told us that it also might have happened closer to Hole in the Wall. He said their patios might even overlap Ned Pepper's and the Hole in the Wall bar. But as we see daylight beginning to break there on the Oregon district, it's a much quieter scene now than it was 5 hours ago when this active started firing at people.
Let's get straight to Monica Castro. She's been there since moments after the shooting. And again, Monica, I assume that as the sun comes up and we start to see daylight, you're seeing more and more in terms of basically what is left after what's been a horrific morning for many, many people here in the Miami Valley.
Adam, of course, when I got here earlier this morning, I mean, this area was completely lined with first responders out here. As you can see, a lot of them have cleared up, but I'm going to step out of the way. You can kind of see down the road where that shooting all unfolded. And I know earlier I was there when the assistant chief told us a little bit about what transpired. As you mentioned, this all happened outside of the bar. 16 people were injured, 9 killed. And when I was out here and first showed up, I saw a lot of people walking in these streets. A lot of them looked really shocked. Obviously, I saw a lot of them sitting on the ground, kind of had their hands to their face, just kind of holding themselves. And I actually was with my photographer. We were looking at some of the video that he was able to get, moments after this shooting unfolded, and very emotional. We actually saw one moment that I just kind of broke my heart a little bit. Was a man and an officer. They were just hugging each other, and that just tells you a little bit about what the emotions were like as this shooting happened, and the aftermath of the shooting. Obviously, there was a lot of chaos after that. When we talked to Amelia Robinson, our Dayton Daily News reporter, she said when she heard the gunshot, she came down. She wanted to see what was going on because it's very unusual for something like that to happen here in this area, especially because police always patrol this area, especially on a Friday, Saturday night. But she even described it saying, people were crying. There was just a lot of emotions. I ran into a woman who was sitting down. She had her hands to her face. She looked visibly distraught, and she told me that she had just lost her cousin. She had just found out that her cousin was one of the 9 victims that was killed in this senseless shooting. So I know police, as I mentioned, they're going to remain out here for many hours trying to piece together what exactly caused this shooter to shoot into a group of people that were out here. I know at the time when we did speak with the assistant chief, they didn't have a motive. And so that's one of the things that hopefully they'll be able to gather some evidence, especially from talking to witnesses that were out here. Hopefully they can piece together what exactly happened over here. For now, reporting live, Monica Castro, News Center 7.
And Monica, before we let you go, I do just want to ask quickly, I know you're very busy gathering new information. However, we've been talking about friends and family showing up at the Dayton Convention Center. We've been talking about the makeshift gathering there at the RVs near where you are. Are you seeing individuals now that the sun's starting to come up? We're getting into the morning time. People are waking up, checking their phones, turning on their television. They're realizing that there was a mass shooting overnight a little more than 5 hours ago now. Are you seeing people starting to show up at that scene? And if so, how are police handling that?
Actually, it hasn't been too bad over here. We haven't seen any people walking in this area to see, just the scene itself. So it's been really quiet, considering all that unfolded over here just, a couple of hours ago.
Okay, again, Monica Castro there at the scene of the Oregon district. She was there moments after this all happened. She was our very first responder there. But again, we're taking you back a few hours ago, and you can see before the sun came up, the situation there. I'm trying to put this into words, Cheryl, and it's difficult. It's awful, and we've heard awful so many times this morning. But again, if you're just joining us here at 6:43, we have 9 confirmed dead. We have more than 16 that were shot and injured. They're now scattered at about a half dozen hospitals around the Miami Valley, most, of course, going to Miami Valley Hospital, one, because of the level of trauma that they can deal with, and two, correct, just the sheer logistics of how close they are. We had Dr. Randy Marriott. He's an emergency physician at Miami Valley Hospital live not long ago. He said they immediately went into what they call code yellow, which essentially means that's their disaster response mode, and they call in their active trauma team. He said some have been treated and released, some remain there being treated, and they still have one critical. But again, he specifically said Miami Valley, 16 people there alone in their network. And again, one still in critical condition this morning.
And you see police officers on the scene right now have been there for hours and will continue to be, because they are marking evidence, gathering evidence, talking to witnesses, even talking to the officers who responded, who are also now witnesses. News Center 7's Molly Kowick is there, and you have one of the more, haunting symbols of what happened. I find this just, intriguing. Just a symbol of what happened last night, how quickly people were trying to flee.
Yeah, this really shows that people truly were running for their lives. I'm going to step out so that you can take a look right now. You can see there's a pile on the ground, which we can now see in daylight now. It's roped off by caution tape. That is a pile of shoes. There were a couple hats in that pile as well. And so this was such a scary situation that people didn't care. They just went running. They didn't care that they were losing their shoes. Obviously, it's summertime right now. I saw a lot of sandals in there without backs, the kinds that slip off pretty easily. And if you take a second, you can get it back on your foot. But these people, they didn't have a second for that. They just needed to run. I spoke with a man earlier this morning who said that he was 5-10 feet away from the shooter. And he said that his phone and his keys went flying and he didn't care. He just kept running because those are things that obviously can be replaced, but lives cannot be replaced. And so it's a terrifying situation there. Right now, we're on the backside of Ned Pepper's, and that man I spoke with said that the shooting happened right out front, right on 5th Street there. So since we last checked in, some of the police cars that were on the backside of these buildings have since cleared out. You can see there are still officers here on scene checking through things. And I want to give you a little bit of a perspective of just how terrifying this was for the people last night. Here's a little bit of sound from a man I spoke with earlier today.
I just parked down behind Omega Records, and I started walking towards, east on 5th. And by the time I got to the middle of the Oregon, just gunshots, just loud gunshots just everywhere. You couldn't hear nothing but that. Everybody's just screaming and running, and just trying to get away.
How close were you to the shooter?
Within 5 to 10 feet. He was like, I was on one side of the car, and he was on the other side of the car, shooting at everybody. Like when we ran to the front of the car, he was shooting at us that way. We ran to the back of the car and started shooting at us there until the officer came and started shooting it out with the guy. And the officer saved all of us.
What was it like to be feet from him?
That's the most scariest feeling I've ever had in my life. Like, I've never been that scared before.
Can you describe for us what he looked like?
I mean, you really couldn't see. He had a mask on, and he had his hood pulled up, and he had like some big earphones on, so you really couldn't see him. You just seen a dark figure.
Okay. Yeah. And so you ran as fast as you could.
Exactly. Immediately. As soon as the gunshot started, I started running. Then the direction I was running, some guy got shot in the head. He fell right in front of me, so I tried to run the other way. And when I did that, my phone and my keys flew out of my pocket and flew under somebody's car. And like I said, I ran to the other way. Then bullets, people started dropping that way, so I turned and started crawling, trying to go the other way. But then people started falling that way, so I thought I was about to die to the officer. He was like standing over the top of me, like, and he started shooting at the guy. So he saved everybody that was out here.
And where exactly was that?
Right here in front of Ned Pepper.
Oh goodness. Well, we're so glad that you are safe and that you were able to get away. Obviously, it's an extremely tragic night for so many people. Why are you still down here?
Because, like I say, I was running from the guy. My keys and my phone fell, and so I can't call nobody to come get me, and I can't go to my car because the police got everything blocked off, and they won't let us get our property. So now I'm just down here stuck. All right, so if anybody's seeing this, you come pick me up, please. I'm in the Oregon district. Come get me.
All right. Well, Robert, thank you so much for taking the time to share what you went through in that terrifying experience. Thank you. Cheryl? Just how scary of a situation it was, and really how chaotic. I mean, this man describes being a couple feet away from the shooter, and how difficult that situation is. Now, I spoke with somebody else who was working in one of the bars nearby, and he described a scene that I think many of us can understand in this kind of a situation when it's late at night, and this is a place where people come to have fun. He was in a bar where there was a DJ, and so it was loud in there, and he said, yeah, I thought I heard some gunshots, and then all of a sudden the DJ got over the loudspeaker, and the DJ at a different bar here in the Oregon district was the one who actually said that there was a shooter. So it just had to be absolutely terrifying for people, not just right out in front outside, but also all of the people who were in the Oregon district this evening, just trying to enjoy a night out. Now, I was able to speak with an officer who said that he would like people to avoid the area anywhere east of Kiwi and west of Patterson on 5th Street. So if you're wanting to come down and see what's going on, they're really asking that people avoid that situation while they're still investigating.
Okay, Molly, thank you. And I'm glad that you showed us that interview that you did earlier with Robert, who described it so poignantly about what he went through. You could feel the terror that he had experienced coming from him. I also want to make the point, and we'll let you go for now, that for those who maybe lost their phone or their car keys like Robert did, maybe you can contact your loved ones if they're perhaps worried about you, which they would be if you were down there last night and you escaped unscathed. Also, you can mark yourself safe on Facebook. I'm looking at my newsfeed here, and some of my daughter's friends have marked themselves safe. I'm glad to see you guys are safe. Some of our former coworkers who were down there are marking themselves safe. So if you were down there, or if you would typically be down there on a Saturday night, and you may have family and loved ones who are worried about you, if you can't get in touch with them, mark yourself safe. Sure. So that they can get word, so they're not panicking and worrying and stressing over what has happened to you. There is a number that families can call too, 225-6217 for more information, or go to the Family Assistance Center at the Dayton Convention Center. Go ahead, Adam.
Well, no, just speaking of social media, to put this in perspective, one, hearing that witness, but two, we had mentioned a moment ago that a woman tweeted that she had been out on a Saturday night in the Oregon district. She had noticed another young lady's outfit and complimented her on that outfit, as that young lady did to her as well, as women often do. And the next time she saw that woman, she was dead. So that is how unexpected, that is how immediate this has been. I also want to mention that, speaking of social media, Nan Whaley is down there at the Dayton Convention Center. That's where we have both Mike Campbell and Kayla. Nan Whaley tweeting 41 minutes ago, "I'm heartbroken. Thank you to our first responders for all you've done. We will share updates as soon as we have more information." And again, we are waiting to hear from Nan Whaley, obviously the mayor of Dayton, coming up in just a few minutes. But if you're just joining us, we do want to give you a recap as to what happened overnight.
Yeah, as we close in on the 7 o'clock hour, it's a Sunday morning. People may just be waking up. We want to let you know what has happened in our city of Dayton overnight. About 1:22 a.m., someone opened fire. A man carrying a long gun walked down East 5th Street and started shooting people. And he managed to kill 9 people, wound 16 others, until Dayton police, who were patrolling the Oregon district, as they routinely do, were able to shoot and kill him. Eyewitness describes him as wearing dark clothing, had a hood up, a mask. He was wearing a mask, and he had earmuffs or headphones covering his ears. People who heard the gunfire said it was very loud, as you can imagine. Police told us that he had multiple rounds. So one of the blessings in this, one of the things that is so fortunate, is that the situation could have been much, much worse than it was and than it is, because this is a stark morning for us to have to report 9 innocent lives taken. But this could have been so much worse police had not been there, had not responded so quickly to take this shooter down and end the violence that he perpetrated in the city of Dayton early this morning. Dayton police are well trained. They've been well trained for years in active shooter situations. Some members of the department, both present and former, have traveled the country to train officers in other departments. They know what to do in this situation. And ever since the Columbine high school shooting in 1999, where innocent school children were killed, the training has changed so that the first responders, those first on scene, take the shooter out. They do not wait for SWAT or any sniper or specialized units. They go ahead and they go in and they do what they need to do. And in this situation, they had to stop the violence. They had to stop the shooter, which they did. Unfortunately, he was able to kill 9 people first, and we now have a statement from
I believe Governor Mike DeWine, correct. So we want to read this just into our newsroom. And again, as people are waking up this morning, they're just hearing news of this, not only here in the Miami Valley, in the state of Ohio, and across the country, but now across the world. So again, Governor Mike DeWine saying, Fran and I are absolutely heartbroken over the horrible attack that occurred this morning in Dayton. We join those across Ohio and this country in offering our prayers to victims and their families. I have spoken with Mayor Nan Whaley and offered any assistance on behalf of the state. I have been briefed by the Ohio Department of Public Safety, and the Ohio State Highway Patrol has offered assistance to local law enforcement as they investigate this heinous act. I commend Dayton police and other first responders for their bravery and quick response to save lives and bring an end to this tragedy. He also mentioned that he has ordered flags in Ohio remain at half-staff in honor and memory of the victims who lost their lives this morning. Again, that is the very latest from Ohio Governor Mike DeWine.
And I'm sure this touches him not only as governor of Ohio, but the fact that he is from this area. Sure. He lives in Cedarville, still has a home there, and he was Greene County prosecutor for years before he was elected to public office. He served in the Senate, and he's served a number of different offices and has now been our governor since early this year. But this is part of his home. I know the Miami Valley is very special to him, so I'm sure that is heartfelt, and that he has the same sense of shock and sadness and disbelief that we all have.
And Cheryl, you made a great point. Obviously, we went through a disaster on Memorial Day. However, that was Mother Nature. Mm-hmm. This disaster is man-made. And for many people, it's a little bit harder to wrap your mind around how something so awful can happen to those who are truly innocent. I mean, we're talking about a very popular area that I have been to, that you have been to, that we frequent on a Saturday, beautiful Saturday evening. Those gathered there, we heard for birthday parties, to meet friends and family. Some still not knowing if their family members, one, are okay or even alive. So if you're just waking up with us this morning, again, we have 9 dead. We have more than a dozen injured now at Miami Valley, Kettering Health, and a few other scattered hospitals around the area. And the shooter, I do want to mention, for those just waking up and they're seeing this scene and hearing that there's a mass shooting, the shooter, apparently, while we don't know much about him, we do know that the shooter was shot and killed shortly after that all began. So there is no active shooter at this point. Police are not warning of an active shooter. The situation is under control in terms of your safety this morning. But again, not before 9 people lost their lives.
And yes, and when we're showing 9 dead, we're not including the shooter.
That is correct.
Number 10, but
correct.
We're talking about the innocent lives
right.
that were taken by this shooter. And again, we may never know a motive for this, and what motive can there be when there's such senseless violence. I'm comforted to see, I know a lot of people in the area, and I have 2 daughters who are both in their 20s, and though both are not currently in Dayton, they have friends who are. And one of my daughter's friends' mothers, she just messaged me that Teresa is safe. She did not go out last night. And Teresa lives on the outskirts of the Oregon district and she frequents she's a wonderful young woman who works hard.
Sure.
Like a lot of my daughter's friends and like all those people who were down there last night. These are people who work hard all week. They want to go out with their friends on a Saturday night, have a nice time, good people, hardworking people, just unwinding and enjoying their friends in the evening. And then someone decides to open fire and take lives. And it's just the saddest thing.
As Molly was speaking there moments ago, I leaned over to Cheryl and I said, "My goodness, have we checked on our people? Have we checked? We have young staff, we have middle-aged staff, and we have older staff here at News Center 7. Are we checking on our photographers who would be in the Oregon District on a normal Saturday night with friends and family? This is something that is affecting all of us. And again, when you have dozens of people injured, hundreds, if not thousands of people gathered down there in the Oregon District on what was a beautiful Saturday night at 1:22 a.m. A man, according to witnesses and police, just randomly started shooting people on the street. One man describing that he ran, lost his cell phone and his keys. He went one direction and noticed the guy next to him get shot in the head. He went the other direction and people around him were being shot. And then he fell. I believe he described it as at the feet of a Dayton police officer, who then immediately opened fire back, saying that Dayton police saved them. They saved their lives. The quick response Cheryl has been talking about in recent years, the change in training, and they are now trained. They don't call and wait for SWAT. The men and women carrying a badge and a gun do what they do best, and they
did it well.
They take the threat away as soon as humanly possible, and we're told that's what happened. The unfortunate part of this, of course, is that not before that shooter, who we know very little about at this moment. We know that the shooter, according to witnesses, was standing there with a dark hoodie, possibly a mask, maybe some headphones on or earmuffs of some sort over his face and head. So again, witnesses that describe themselves as being 5 or 10 feet from the shooter could not tell us what that shooter looked like, only that he had a long gun and fired as many bullets, it appears, as he possibly could at random people on the street in the Oregon District, simply trying to enjoy.
The assistant police chief said that the shooter also had multiple rounds with him. So we know that had police not been close by, not been in close proximity and able to respond so quickly, this could have been so much worse. And as bad as it is, with 9 innocent people dead and 16 others injured and countless others who witnessed this and will never unsee what they saw and experienced, but to think how much worse this could have been.
And we're told that family and friends of those victims now gathering. Dayton Convention Center, that's also where Mayor Nan Whaley is, Dayton's mayor. That's where we have Mike Campbell and Kayla Cravell, Wayne Baker from the Dayton Daily News, working on our behalf, our partners over at the news at the paper there, gathered, we're told, friends and family, also a makeshift gathering at the Arby's, which, if you're familiar with the very popular downtown Oregon district, the Arby's just feet outside of downtown Oregon district. So we're told people are gathering there. He described one elderly woman showing up with a cane, not knowing if her granddaughter was alive. And I'm sure that there are many stories like that this morning. Many people probably still sleeping. Again, we're just a few minutes after 7 a.m. All of this beginning at 1:22, according to Dayton police. That is when the first information came out of an active shooter. You're seeing there, this is a live look of shoes that were just left on the scene. Again, Molly put it, she described it very well when she said some of these are sandals or shoes with no backs, and it literally takes a second to put your shoes back on. However, when you are running for your life, you don't have.
You're not going to take a second when you think of Robert, who Molly talked to, who dropped his keys and cell phone in the midst of this chaos, and of course didn't go back for them. And then he didn't have his life. He's alive and he's safe, but he has no way to contact people because he dropped his cell phone in the chaos, and he dropped his car keys and cannot, find it. And now police don't want to let people back in, understandably so. You can imagine the chaotic scene that unfolded at 1 a.m. Earlier I said 1:22. Our desk is saying this did happen right about 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So I wanted to correct that. I believe the Dayton police tweet said 1:22 a.m. I was unsure of the time. 1 a.m. is when the shooting broke out.
Okay, again, people gathering at Dayton Convention Center. That's why we do want to get back to News Center 7's Mike Campbell with an update there. Mike.
Yeah, I'll try and give you a heads up if they come to me. Well, Adam, what we can tell you is that we've been able to come inside the convention center because we do expect a briefing from Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley. And so what they did was they came out, they escorted us from outside on the sidewalk on 5th Street there, past the downstairs rooms where the grieving family members are waiting word of their relatives and friends and family members. We've come upstairs into a room where we're waiting for a news briefing from Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley. We expect that to start momentarily. Again, police have had one news conference so far in about 2 to 2.5 hours after the shooting happened, where they told us they believe there was one shooter and that shooter was among those that were killed in the shooting. Now, what we can tell you right now is we've heard from a couple witnesses that claim they thought they might have seen a second shooter, but Dayton police, they can't confirm that. In fact, they haven't got any official word of that from any eyewitnesses. So I did ask them about that. There's also been the reports that we have been told that some outlets reporting that the shooter may have worn body armor. I checked with Dayton police. They said they could not confirm that as well. They, of course, will say they will investigate any and all leads in this case, but right now they're not able to confirm that. So those are a couple of the two little tidbits that I can give you that are new. Again, we're up on the second floor of the Dayton Convention Center awaiting a news briefing from Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley. We'll bring it to you live as soon as it happens. For now, I'm going to toss back to Adam and Cheryl.
All right, Mike, thank you. Well, we will be checking back in with Mike Campbell. However, while we wait for that live press conference, again, I do want to mention that we have started hearing from officials both in our area and statewide. Mayor Nan Whaley tweeting out less than an hour ago, "I'm heartbroken. Thank you to our first responders for all you've done. We will share updates as soon as we have more information." Also, Governor Mike DeWine moments ago issuing a statement. So I'm just going to read it. It does take a moment, so just bear with us. Again, this is Governor Mike DeWine moments ago saying, quote, "Fran and I are absolutely heartbroken," Fran, of course, being his wife, "over the horrible attack that occurred this morning in Dayton. We join those across Ohio and this country in offering our prayers to victims and their families. I have spoken with Mayor Nan Whaley and offered any assistance on behalf of the state. I have been briefed by the Ohio Department of Public Safety, and the Ohio State Highway Patrol has offered assistance to local law enforcement as they investigate this heinous act. I commend Dayton police and other first responders for their bravery and quick response to save lives and bring an end to this tragedy." He went on to say, "I have ordered the flags in Ohio remain at half-mast in honor and memory of the victims who lost their lives this morning." Again, if you're just joining us, that was from Governor Mike DeWine moments ago.
And keep in mind that Governor DeWine, until he took office as governor this year, was Ohio Attorney General. Under the auspices of the Ohio Attorney General's office is the Bureau of Criminal Investigations. So they have many resources too, if needed, to assist in this investigation. You're looking live at Dayton's Oregon District this morning, where 6 hours ago at 1 a.m., an active shooter opened fire. A man described by one witness as dressed in dark clothing with a hood up, wearing a mask and possibly earmuffs or headphones, carrying a long gun, had multiple rounds with him, according to police, opened fire, shot and killed 9 people, wounded 16 others who are being treated at area hospitals, at least one in critical condition. And police were patrolling the Oregon District, as they routinely do, and officers nearby responded and shot and killed the shooter. As one witness told us, the police officers saved everybody.
I do want to mention that there's been some conflicting information here. So if you're just joining us and you have friends or family and you're not sure if they're injured, you do have options. They have set up an assistance center there at the Dayton Convention Center. You can physically go there, or you can call a number. Now, here's what I'm going to say. We have been reporting that number is 225-6217.
Correct.
However, as of moments ago, the Dayton Police Department has tweeted out that they now are up and running with their Family Assistance Center at the Dayton Convention Center, and they ask that if you're going to call a number, that you call 937-333-8430. Again, this is new moments ago, but that number again, 937-333-8430. This is not a number to just call and ask for information for random reasons. That is why we are here. We have Molly Coick, Monica Castro, Mike Campbell, Kayla Gravel, Sean Cudahy, Gabrielle Enright. We have Wayne Baker from the Dayton Daily News. Cheryl and I, we are all gathering information. These are just the people you see on television. We have a team of people working right now in our News Center 7 newsroom to bring you Team 7 coverage. So again, if you just want the normal information, we will be on scene. We will stay on scene, and we will be right here bringing you you the very latest. However, if you have friends or family, the latest number we're hearing, and again, our team in the newsroom will get this confirmed and we will get the right number. But as of 16 minutes ago, Dayton police tweeting that if you want to know if your friends or family are okay and you're looking for information on loved ones, you can call 937-333-8430. That is a new number. They possibly could have just set this up moments ago. Again, we knew that Dayton police also have staff rushing in, just like we did this morning, just like first responders, just like Miami Valley, everyone getting called in as they're hearing about this, overnight. Many of us are sleeping. We awoke to this horrible news. But again, I just want to mention it again. If you're just waking up a few minutes after 7 and you want to know if your friends or family were part of this mass shooting, the number is 333-8430.
And we will get that on the screen just as soon as we can. We had been given a different number about 3 hours ago, a dedicated line for people to call in. So now that number has changed, and we're going to repeat it again, 937-333-8430. I would again urge anyone who may have been in the Oregon district last night or who typically goes there and whose family might be worried about you. If you haven't contacted your family, maybe they're wondering if you're okay, either contact your family directly or mark yourself safe on Facebook if you can. Do whatever you can to let the people who care about you, who love you, know that you are safe and that you are unharmed, because this has got to be a terribly nerve-wracking and stressful, just panicking time for the family members who don't know about their loved ones. And you can see the stress in people's faces when we go inside the Dayton Convention Center, the people putting their hands to their heads and just waiting for, fearing the worst, waiting for news of some kind, but absolutely fearing the worst until they know that their loved one is okay.
And someone who has seen this play out in front of their eyes, of course, News Center 7's Monica Castro. She was our first on the scene. She's been there throughout the morning. She remains on the scene now that the sun is coming up. And let's get straight to her for the very latest. Monica.
Well, definitely a very emotional night for a lot of people that were out here. And I know, Adam, you asked a couple of minutes ago if we had seen any people coming to just look at the scene or just kind of, watch these officers that are out here. And we actually did see some Ned Pepper's employees. They came over, they walked by, they looked at just, all the media out here. Although they didn't want to go on camera, you could tell that they just looked visibly distraught. They look tired. I know one of the guys just mentioned that he was working that night. He didn't talk too much about it, but obviously, like I said, a very emotional night. I'm sure a lot of these people can't really put into words what exactly they experienced, especially knowing that 9 innocent people are dead and others were injured in that chaos that unfolded. We'll keep monitoring the scene. Police are still out here. I'm sure they're still trying to gather some of the evidence that may be left at the scene. For now, reporting live, Monica Castro, News Center 7.
All right, Monica, thank you again. 7-11 on a Sunday morning. If you're just joining us, just a very brief recap. We heard about 1 o'clock this morning of an active shooter in the Oregon district. We have now confirmed 9 dead, dozens injured, 16 specifically taken to hospitals with Miami Valley. We spoke with Dr. Randy Marriott, an emergency physician. He says 1 remains in critical. Most of those 16 actually were shot by this active shooter. Police were told by witnesses immediately engaged police that happened to be nearby, again, because this was the Oregon district, a very popular area, on a very nice Saturday night into Sunday morning. We're told Dayton police shot and killed that shooter. We know very little about the shooter at this point, only that it appears it was, according to witnesses, possibly a man with wearing all dark colors, a hood over his head, a mask over his face, possibly headphones or some sort of earmuffs over his ears, and with a long gun. The witness also stating that the man was simply shooting in every direction as people were just outside that in the 400 block of East 5th Street.
Okay, the mayor is talking now, so we're going to go to the convention center. This is Mayor Nan Whaley, Dayton's mayor. Okay, Mayor Whaley got to the convention center within the last 2 hours, I would say, to talk to some of the families, and she's going to talk to the public now.
Okay. I'm Nan Whaley, Mayor of the City of Dayton. With me is Assistant Chief Likens of Dayton Fire Department, Deputy Chief Matt Carper from the Dayton Police Department, Dayton City Commissioner Jeff Mem, City Manager Shelley Dixie, and Dayton City Commissioner Daryl Fairchild. At 1:07 this morning, an event occurred in our historic Oregon district. A suspect opened fire along the Oregon district who was wearing body armor and used a .223 caliber high capacity magazine. He had additional magazines. 26 have been injured and are at area hospitals. 10 fatalities in our community, including the shooter. In less than 1 minute, Dayton first responders neutralized the shooter. While this is a terribly sad day for our city, I am amazed by the quick response of Dayton police that saved literally hundreds of lives. If you are a family or friend of a victim, we invite you to come to the convention center or call 333-8430. That's 937-333-8430. And if you have any information on the incident, if you were in the Oregon District today and have information, please call 937-225-6217. Again, that number is 937-225-6217. Red Cross, the Greater Dayton Area Hospital Association, Adamus, and support for our police and first responders are on scene and on site to help the situation. We, of course, are incredibly grateful for our partners in this very sad incident. Dayton has been through a lot already this year, and I continue to be amazed by the grit and resiliency of our community. Certainly, this is a day that will be filled with prayer for our citizens and prayer for our community. We ask everyone to be thinking of these people as they're going through this very, very difficult time. But I know as a community, we will continue to move. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
Mayor, do you believe this was premeditated and the fact that he wore body armor? Earlier, we thought that there was the argument he was denied entry, couldn't get in, and that's when it became frustrated. But wearing body armor might indicate premeditation.
Well, certainly I'm not in the shooter's head, but he was wearing body armor, had magazines and extra magazines.
Mayor, is there more than one shooter that you guys know of? We're hearing that number.
I can address that. Initially, from our initial investigation, it appears as though there's only one shooter. We are interviewing dozens of people. Obviously, it's very early in the investigative stage, so we're at the early stages, so we can't confirm that this is the only person involved. But for right now, that is our belief.
What do we know about the suspect? Or about the shooter?
Yeah, we can provide more information on identity and additional information at a later time, but it's too early in the investigation to get to some of those details.
Are you able to say whether the police, how the shooter died, whether it's from a police officer or yourself?
I can tell you within seconds, less than a minute, the officers who were already patrolling that area fired on the shooter to stop his aggressive behavior and stop the shooting.
Were there officers on the details inside that club or helping with the security of that club?
This isn't a club issue. It's in the Oregon District neighborhood, the Oregon District Business Association. Certainly, we had police officers there. It's Saturday night.
How many
officers are over there? How many officers are over there on Saturday night?
I can't give you exact numbers on every single Saturday night. I can tell you we had officers on patrol in the Oregon District over this past evening, and they were there in the immediate vicinity when this occurred.
I mean, when you think of mass shootings in other places, what goes through your mind?
Well, look, as a mayor, this is a day that we all dread happening, and certainly what's very sad is I've gotten messages from cities across the country is that so many of us have gone through it. Today is the 250th mass shooting in America. It's sad that it's in the city of Dayton.
Have you spoken with any officials at the state or federal level yet?
Yes, I've been in touch with Governor DeWine this morning.
Was the shooter going bar to bar? How do you feel that he was outside? Or they were outside?
We'll have more details on the shooting as this moves forward, and we will continue to stay in touch with you during the day as we get more information. This was in the Oregon District area. It was in the Oregon District area, in the outside area.
Is there any traces?
Again, we don't know the thoughts of the shooter at this time. We know that he was wearing body armor and had high capacity magazines and extra magazines.
What Governor DeWine said?
He just offered his condolences to the city of Dayton. Was incredibly impressed with the work of the Dayton Police Department to have this situation under control in less than a minute, and then offered any support that he could give.
Mayor Whaley, describe the past 6 months for you for the city. It's been tough, and now this.
Yes, it's been a tough 6 months for our community, but you work through that, and right now our focus is on the families and friends, frankly, that went to downtown on a Saturday night and thought that they'd go home safe, and that didn't happen. So. No, we haven't had. They are in the process right now, so I have not spoken to anyone.
How many people have come to the convention center? Have you been receiving calls on the hotline about the shooting itself, and also people needing assistance or wanting assistance?
We don't have numbers for that. This is the first press conference that we'll have throughout the day. We will have information like that as the day comes forward. We were really asking you all to share those 2 numbers. That's really important right now, and to get the message out for people that have lost loved ones and for people that may have information.
Again, can you list the gun that the shooter had?
The gun that the shooter had was a 223 caliber high capacity magazine. He had additional magazines, and he was wearing body armor. 223 caliber high capacity magazine. He had additional.
Was it a rifle?
Yes.
Very large gun. In technical terms.
Have you been able? Again, I know you said where you got weapons, where
Not yet.
legally you obtained.
We don't have any of that information yet.
What are you trying to provide to people down here, families, friends? What are you trying to provide to them?
Look, I think, if imagine yourself in their position, their family member was out on a Saturday night, or somebody regularly enjoying their friends on Saturday night. We want to make sure that they get the best information possible. You all are key in that conversation, but sometimes the information that comes out is not correct. So we want to make sure that they have that, and then we want to make sure that they get the services that they need. I mean, this is going to be a very difficult time for at least 10 families in our community, and their lives have completely changed. But in addition to the 26 that are injured, it could be many more that lives are changed.
What's the extent of the injuries? Sort of life-threatening?
Yes.
Yeah, how many?
No, I don't have numbers.
Can you talk more about the body armor? Was it a Kevlar vest? Was there headgear? What does that mean when you say body armor?
We'll be able to get more details on that at a later time.
Well, we'll continue. We're asking you to continue to push information out around the tip line, and also information to get to family and friends. And we'll be continuing to do that work. We'll be working in concert with the coroner and other folks that are doing this effort. And then we want to take care of our first responders. Our first responders this year have been through a lot. And so we'll be doing that work. And then we will work to make sure that you are have the most up-to-date information and correct information throughout the day. So you can count on us to come back and continue to keep you in information. My ask for you all is to don't go on a story that is not true, that cannot be confirmed, in return for that open access over the day.
What hospitals are the victims at?
They're in multiple hospitals across the city.
And as you saw the mass shooting in El Paso play out yesterday, did you ever imagine or prepare for the first responders acted so quickly? How did you guys prepare for this?
Well, are you talking about the El Paso responders responding so quickly? Our responders, look, I think time and again, I, as mayor, have been amazed by Dayton first responders. I think they are a special, amazing group of first responders. If Dayton police had not gotten to the shooter in under a minute, and think of that, 26 injured, 9 dead, hundreds of people in the Oregon district could be dead today. And that work and that bravery by our first responders is something that moves me to get up every morning to continue to do this work.
Yeah, I still there. When you're speaking to whether you're, around cities, the state, the country, how do you help the situation here? How do you say the message to these families?
I don't think anything I can say can help the people that have lost loved ones. But I think for us, we have to just be there. And I think that's what we'll do. We'll continue to stand in the gap in that and try to give them the space and grace that they need during this time.
Do you see any changes in the future? Have you thought about that in terms of safety protocol or how you believe these things happen?
Look, I think the police and our first responders have done an amazing job. Clearly, the question has to be raised: why does Dayton have to be the 250th mass shooting in America? 250. I mean, that's really the question.
When you say that number, are you talking about this year?
This year, we are El Paso is 249, Dayton was 250 this year.
What type of surveillance video or cameras businesses in your district have that you can
Many businesses do have security cameras and video, and obviously we're checking to see what is available and to use that as part of our investigation. So some of that has already been done, some of that is to be done.
Do you have any idea how many people may have been in the district last night?
Well, it'll be thousands. It's a Saturday night in the district in the summer. So I mean, and it was 110. I mean, there's thousands.
There are initial reports that has something to do with the shooter being denied access to funds or great truth to that.
I'm not aware of that information, but like I said, it's still early in the investigation, but I have not heard that.
And we know you guys are.
The shooter was
We
I'm
can't
not going to comment on
comment on that yet.
identity.
Did he reload?
I'm not going to get into those specifics just yet. We'll release. I know everyone here who is local knows that we provide very detailed information on critical incidents, and we'll do the same here. It's obviously going to take us a little bit of time to get some of that detail to you.
Maybe do you know what time you were first contacted about the shooting?
I think I got a text around 2:40. Yeah, I think around that time.
I wanted to clarify something on the timeline. Is that less than a minute from when the police first got a call about it, or less than a minute after the shooting first began?
Less than a minute after the shooting first began.
So they were right there.
They were there.
They were in the immediate vicinity and acted immediately.
Correct. They were there.
And these were uniformed officers. You have officers that work part-time on.
They were uniformed officers working in
The Oregon
in the Oregon district.
So I mean, I really want to. You want me to think about that a minute. If the officers were not in the Oregon district, the officers were there less than a minute from the beginning of the shooting. The shooter was able to kill 9 people and injure 26 in less than a minute. And if we did not have police in the Oregon district and the thousands of people in the Oregon district enjoying their Saturday evening, what we could have had in this city. So it is a terrible day for Dayton, but I am so grateful for Dayton Police's fast action. Okay, we'll be back. Remember our deal. No bad information. In return, I'll come see you every few hours. We will. All right? I think we're going to come back at 10 a.m. Okay? Thank you.
And again, go ahead.
Okay, that was Mayor Nan Whaley, along with Assistant Dayton Police Chief Matt Carper, and other city leaders. We got some new information. Yeah. We know now that this active shooter opened fire at 1:07 a.m. In less than a minute from the time he first fired shots. Dayton police, who were on routine assignment in the Oregon district, shot and killed him. I want you to talk more about the weapon.
Well, and I do want to mention, quickly before I get to that we're talking about 36 people here. We're talking about affected, again, in a matter of seconds. Mm-hmm. And Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley went on to say that if the Dayton police did not step in and exchange gunfire and take out this threat in less than a minute, there could be hundreds of people dead. Now, again, getting to that weapon, she did mention there was a little confusion over the actual gun, and we understand that. However, she did say that this shooter was using a high-capacity magazine, a .223 caliber. So again, a .223 caliber high-capacity magazine. Sometimes, and this is not confirmed, but at times these bullets can be used for an AR-15, which is essentially a military rifle that can be issued to civilians. Now, in the military, they're fully automatic, and what that means is you pull a trigger and the bullets just fire. However, civilians do have access to these weapons, and if you had a civilian AR-15, essentially, it would be as you pull the trigger, you have to pull the trigger each time for a bullet to come out. You don't just hold the trigger down. Again, the details are a little shaky as to the actual gun. They called it a long rifle, but we were told that he was using a .223 high-capacity magazine. Now, these magazines can carry anything from several bullets, some up to 60 bullets in one magazine.
The mayor made the point that he had extra magazines.
That is correct.
With him too. She confirmed he was wearing body armor, so this appears to be premeditated. She was especially distressed to say that this is the 250th mass shooting in America this year. This happened in Dayton overnight. Police had the situation under control in less than a minute, and she again emphasized that the city of Dayton's first responders, police, fire, medics, healthcare personnel, called them a special, amazing group of first responders. She said that work by our first responders is something that moves me to get up every morning to continue to do this work.
And speaking of Mayor Nan Whaley and the very latest information, we do have News Center 7's Mike Campbell there on scene. We're going to go live to him now again, where he was one of the reporters asking those many questions. Mike.
Well, Adam, I think some of the key points of the briefing the mayor just gave, if you're just joining us, is that there's a total of 10 people dead. One of those is the shooter that they believe is responsible. They made it clear that this did not happen inside any of the businesses in the Oregon district. In fact, they didn't even want to specify kind of which businesses it was near. They kept repeating it was in the Oregon district. They did not also confirm that there was any type of argument, any type of incident where the shooter might have been denied entrance to a club, which is some of the information we had early on. They did not want to characterize exactly what happened, just that this individual, a male, opened fire. They didn't say exactly what type of rifle. They just called it a high-powered rifle and talked about the ammunition being .223 caliber ammunition, and that the shooter did have several magazines with him. They did say that there were Dayton police officers. That's a pretty common thing on Friday and Saturday nights, any weekend night, sometimes almost any night of the week. But in this case, they were actually in the Oregon district, and they said that those officers responded to that shooter in less than a minute. They didn't have to be dispatched. They actually heard the first shots being fired and responded. And police say they believe that their own officers are the ones that neutralized that threat. In other words, took the shooter down. The shooter did. They don't think the shooter committed suicide. They believe that their officers took that shooter down. Again, other than the shooter, 9 other people dead in this shooting and another 26 injured in local hospitals. We don't have a breakdown of how many at each hospital, but we can tell you that the mayor did say that some of those that are injured and at the hospital do have critical injuries. So there is fear that the number of fatalities could rise. But right now, we've spoken with hospitals earlier who tell us that none of the people that have come to their hospital has died, that there are different patients that are in surgery. The other thing that the city leaders wanted to basically say is they don't want anyone to give out bad information. They would like to try and keep us briefing. In fact, the mayor committed to coming back and briefing us with any new information they have at 10 this morning. So, of course, we will stay here and bring you that as well as we continue to try to gather more information. Again, that this is a shooter that they said did wear body armor, but again, they do not know exactly why he opened fire, or if they do, they're not yet telling us. They also weren't willing to tell us where the shooter is from. If he's from the Dayton area, the Miami Valley, or from outside the area, that is not something that they have disclosed to us just yet. We asked about, we are here in the convention center. That's where this news conference took place. We're on the second floor. On the first floor is the area they've set up for families and friends of victims, kind of an assistance and information center. And they said that's what they want to focus on, is doing anything they can to help those victims. At least 10 families right now whose lives have changed forever, with the possibility of that growing higher. And that is what the mayor says her focus is right now. Obviously, she was upset. She was emotional, but composed, as she told us what she could about what they know. We will continue to try to gather more information and bring it to you, anything new information to you as soon as we get it. For now, we're going live.
Mike, before you go, I want to ask you a couple of questions. Mike, okay, we have a little bit of a delay, so he's just now hearing me. Mike, I want to ask you a couple of questions. So Mayor Whaley was very firm in saying that this happened in the Oregon District area. She obviously does not want to disparage any business, because this did not happen inside a business. So what may or may not have happened at a bar, we don't know, but this is a shooter who outside in the street in the Oregon District opened fire at people. Now, you have covered the city of Dayton a very long time, and you have reported on crime, but are we accurate in saying that my belief is that the Oregon District has traditionally been a very safe part of the city? In fact, all of downtown is relatively safe for the numbers of people who go down there.
You're exactly right, Cheryl. In fact, you have covered the crime beat in the past. I cover the crime beat now. Most of our fatal shootings in Dayton happen in neighborhoods, very rarely in downtown Dayton or the Oregon District or another part of downtown. It's been a number of years that I can remember that there was a fatal shooting in the Oregon District, but of course nothing on this scale. And again, most times downtown is actually many times safer than different neighborhoods around the city. And of course, Dayton Police will tell you that the city as a whole has been safer every year for about the last 4 or 5. In fact, that overall crime stats have been slowly dropping, but they do have concern about crimes of violence, especially shootings, having a recent uptick. In fact, the Dayton Police chief talked about that less than a couple of weeks ago, saying that they have actually had task forces out trying to look for people that have been involved in crimes of violence, because they are and have been concerned about a recent upsurge in gun violence. But obviously, this is something far above anything that they were talking about at that time. But again, back to your original question, Cheryl, yes, the Oregon District and other parts of downtown usually very, very safe. No problems for people that come down to enjoy a weekend night.
Right, and we know that the Dayton City Commission just very recently approved the shot spotter technology, where they'll put this technology in certain parts of the city, and it detects gunshots, because so often people report or don't report that there are gunshots ringing out, but nobody can pinpoint where they're coming from or who's firing. So that is also to try to reduce any type of gun violence, random or otherwise, in the city. Another thing I want to ask you, Mike, is in my memory, I covered in November 1st, 1985, a man named Sammy Moreland opened fire in a home at 35 South Ardmore in Dayton and gunned down 5 members of his family, his girlfriend, and 4 members of her family, including children, and that 5 people dead, and he's still on death row, appealing his death sentence. But that aside, do you remember any other mass shootings? And I guess when I'm using the term mass of three or more in your years of covering, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but in the city of Dayton, I can't think of any in recent years.
I think, Cheryl, the one you talked about is the first one that came to my mind as I was headed in to work today. There, I believe, have been a couple others where maybe there were 3 total victims in a scenario where there was like a murder-suicide, but certainly that would not even rise to the one we talked about back in '85. And over the last couple of years, I can't remember any that were more than 1 or 2 victims.
Right.
So certainly a mass shooting like this is outside of, anything police have dealt with here at all. And you heard the mayor say, it's just a day that's going to change Dayton.
Yeah, and that's a sad thing because Dayton has so many wonderful things going for the city right now. Not only the Oregon district, but the Water Street district, Fifth Third Field with the Dayton Dragons, the breweries that have popped up, all the housing downtown. It is just unbelievable how housing has just boomed downtown. Young people and older people are moving downtown because it's such a great place to be. You can walk everywhere. You can walk to the Schuster Center, and to see something like this happen, you hope that it gets people's attention, but I do hope, we all hope that this does not give Dayton a black eye and is viewed as unsafe, because I can tell you from experience that Dayton is not an unsafe city. It has some of the most well-trained police officers in the country and a relatively low crime rate.
Mike, we're going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you so much. I know you're busy gathering new information. We'll check back in with Mike Campbell there at the Dayton Convention Center here in a few minutes. Sure, I do want to mention just for full disclosure, last night I was in downtown Cincinnati and many people there again on a beautiful evening. I was having dinner with my 10-year-old daughter outside on a patio just feet from Fountain Square. Now, you may remember in recent memory, there was a mass shooting there. It was right at the first floor of the Fifth Third Bank building there in Fountain Square in downtown Cincinnati. And you brought up a great point that we hope this does not discourage people from going out and living their lives and enjoying an evening in a city that is relatively safe. The Oregon district is a very safe area. There are police around often, just in case something does happen, as we've seen. And I can tell you last night, it was not very long ago that mass shooting happened in downtown Cincinnati, and many people were still out and about.
Was it just last year?
I believe so. That is correct.
Yes, Cincinnati police officers had to fire right through the windows to stop that shooter.
And again, give credit where credit is due. Right. And our local first responders, both here in Dayton and there in Cincinnati, they seem to be where they need to be when they need to be there. And they give of themselves. It's easy to forget that. But the men and women wearing a badge and a gun, they give of themselves. They run toward the fire, not away from it. And thank goodness that happened right here in the Miami Valley with our own Dayton Police Department. I do want to just recap something very important that the mayor said that she was visibly shaken by, which is in less than 60 seconds, you have 36 people affected. You have 9 victims killed. That's not counting the shooter that was killed again by a Dayton police officer in less than a minute. We have 26 injured. Now, we spoke earlier with an emergency physician there at Miami Valley Hospital. They alone treating 16 people, one still in critical, most of them actual gunshot victims. We did hear that the shooter had a semi-automatic rifle with a .223 caliber high magazine, high capacity magazine, I should say, with that semi-automatic rifle. And he was carrying extra magazines with body armor on. Again, a hoodie over his head, some sort of mask over his face, and either earmuffs or headphones on. So the mayor did say, and I quote, hundreds of people could be dead. And she's referring to if Dayton police did not act in under a minute. We want to get right back out to the scene now. Molly Koick is there. She was one of the very first people on scene to speak with a witness who described literally running for his life as he saw the others getting shot and killed around him. So she continues to gather new information on the scene. Molly.
Yeah, that witness just described how terrifying this whole situation was. And there were so many people down here tonight. I spoke with an employee who works at Ned Pepper's. The witness said that the shooting happened somewhere in front of there in that general area. The employee didn't want to go on camera. He said, though, that everyone who works there is safe this morning. But he described a really difficult situation he was in which right after the shooting happened, he was out there with police and first responders, and he said he was helping them perform CPR and put tourniquets on people. And you could tell from the sound of his voice that he was very, very shaken. He just left work maybe 10 minutes ago or so. So 7:30 in the morning was when he was leaving work. Give you another look at the scene right now for people who maybe are just tuning in. You can see we're still roped off here with caution tape, and a little bit beyond that caution tape, there's a full pile of shoes that you can see for so many people who were just running for their lives. And so it's eerie to look at that, to see that these people just they did not care about their shoes. They did not care about that split second, because they didn't have that split second. Also, I just learned some new information. I was talking with a photographer who just got on scene. He says maybe a half block away. We're on Gate Street right now. So he says maybe a half block away from there, there's just a lot of blood on the ground. And so certainly difficult images are coming out of this morning.
All right, Molly, thank you. Again, we'll let you get back and gather new information. If you're just joining us, we are now at 7:43. This has been happening more than for 6 hours now. We've been gathering details. It was just after 1 o'clock this morning when there were reports of a mass shooter. A total of 9 people have now been confirmed dead, and also the shooter was killed. That makes 10 people dead. So again, 9 victims and the shooter killed. We were told at last check by Mayor Nan Whaley moments ago, 26 people have been injured, and all of this happened in less than 1 minute outside on the Oregon District in front of several popular areas. You have to remember this was just after 1 a.m. on a Saturday night into Sunday morning, a beautiful Saturday night, in one of the most popular areas in the Miami Valley, of course, the Oregon District. Now, we have since heard from the mayor. We have heard from Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. We will get to all of their statements in just a minute. I do want to mention that if you are wondering if you have a family member or a friend that has been shot and killed or injured, there is a number set up. You physically don't have to go anywhere. You can go to the Dayton Convention Center if you would like. There is a family assistance center set up. However, if you just want to make a quick phone call, it is 937-333-8430. I'm going to repeat that because I know a lot of you are just waking up. It's 937-333-8430. If you have information to give, that's the second number you see there. If you have information that can help police, you're asked to call 937-225-6217. Again, there is no reports of an active shooter still on the loose. Dayton police apparently took out this threat in less than 1 minute, so less than 60 seconds, but not before he was able to kill 9 victims and injure 26 others. Those victims scattered across hospitals across the Miami Valley. Kettering Health Network, Miami Valley, of course, we were told by an emergency physician at Miami Valley, they immediately went into what they call Code Yellow, which is their disaster response mode. That's when they call in their active trauma team. The good news, if there is any, is that according to him, the victims that have come through the doors of Miami Valley at this point, they have not lost any of them. One is still in critical, most of them actual gunshot victims, a few others cuts and bruises, obviously from running. Molly was speaking earlier this morning with a man who described being 5 to 10 feet from that shooter, and he ran literally for his life. He watched a man who was shot in the head next to him that caused him to turn around and literally run in the opposite direction. As that was happening, the man describes that other people were shot around him and started to fall. And that's where he found himself at the feet of a Dayton police officer who he said saved their lives and immediately started shooting back. So give credit where credit is due. I do want to mention that Governor Mike DeWine did issue a statement. So I'm just going to read it here for a moment. He said, quote, and he's referring to his wife here, "Fran and I are absolutely heartbroken over the horrible attack that occurred this morning in Dayton. We join those across Ohio and this country and all offering our prayers to victims and their families. I've spoken with Mayor Nan Whaley and offered my assistance on behalf of the state. I have been briefed by the Ohio Department of Public Safety, and the Ohio State Highway Patrol has offered assistance to local law enforcement as they investigate this heinous attack. I commend Dayton police and other first responders for their bravery and quick response to save lives and bring an end to this tragedy. I have ordered that flags in Ohio remain at half-mast in honor and memory of the victims who lost their lives this morning, end quote. I do want to give you a couple quick quotes that we heard from Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley there at the Dayton Convention Center not long ago. She said that she was amazed by the quick response of Dayton police. She said, Dayton has been through a lot. We all know that. Mother Nature has not been kind to us this year, and now we have a man-made disaster that is going to be horrific for many, many families in the months and years to come. She said it's going to be a day filled with prayer, and this is a day we all dread. She was referencing that she has been in contact with mayors of other big cities across the country. And according to Mayor Nan Whaley, this is the 250th mass shooting this year in our country alone. And she said she has already had other mayors who have dealt with this in their cities reach out to her this morning. She did, however, go on to reference our first responders, saying in part, quote, they are a special, amazing group of first responders. And again, she said without them, quote, hundreds of people could be dead. We were told the shooter, we do not have an identity. However, we were told that that shooter was using essentially a rifle, a semi-automatic rifle with a .223 caliber high capacity magazine. All of the details regarding the weapon, regarding the shooter's identity, regarding a motive, if there was one, will all come out in the coming hours, in the coming days. The mayor said she'd be back right around 10 o'clock this morning to give an update. But again, this is where we are right now. This all started just a few minutes on East 5th Street there in a very popular area of the Oregon District just after 1 o'clock. I do want to mention that if you do not have to go to this scene, do not go to the scene. Police are asking, obviously there are areas set up for friends and family wondering if their loved ones are alive or injured and where they may be. However, if you're just wanting to see the scene, that is what we are here for. And to put that in perspective, both Cheryl and I are here. We have Molly Kowick, we have Monica Castro, we have Mike Campbell, Kayla Kervell, Sean Cudahy, Gabrielle Enright, we have Wayne Baker from the Dayton Daily News. We have a team of people in our News Center 7 newsroom gathering every last social media tidbit, every last official information. We have Team 7 coverage for you. We will be staying on air, and we will be right here for you. We will be your eyes and ears. There is no need to physically go down to this scene. First responders dealing with a lot at 7:49 on a Sunday morning.
They certainly are. One of the first reporters, probably the first reporter on scene, was News Center 7's Monica Castro. She is in the Oregon District. Now, Monica, what new information do you have for us?
Well, right now we see some law enforcement have been coming and going from this area. As we mentioned, it has been a very, very long day for a lot of the law enforcement officers that were out here, even some of those medics. I know you were just talking about how people coming out to the scene. We have seen just a few people wandering by, wanting to check out what's going on, and some of them even expressing, a little bit of anger, wanting to know why this shooter did what they did. Obviously, 9 people are now dead because of that. At this time, we still don't know a motive, but yeah, we are seeing a little bit of activity in terms of people coming, wanting to check out this scene. But like you said, I'm just going to echo it, please don't come to the scene. I mean, it's heartbreaking to be out here knowing exactly what happened. I know a lot of people are probably feeling very emotional, especially if they were out here Saturday night at the Oregon District, whether they were going to dinner or just hanging out with friends. This is a very busy, busy place. But like I said, just echoing, the people that have been coming out here, they simply want to know why this gunman did what they did. And that's something that hopefully police will be able to address later on. For now, reporting live, Monica Castro, News Center 7.
Okay, thank you. As the sun starts to come up, we are starting to hear from witnesses and those in the area. Again, they've been busy, of course, giving their accounts to police and investigators. However, we now want to hear from, I believe it's Jay Williams, and they were at Hannah's bar as the shooting happened. If we have that interview, we'll go ahead and hear from Jay.
And the guy who was running the show came in on stage and said he had to cut the show early because there was a shooting going on in the Oregon District, and that 5 people at the time had been shot, and then we all needed to evacuate. I'm like, okay, so 5 people have been shot. I'm like, that's crazy.
So there you have it. Witnesses that didn't even know this was happening. And again, they were in other establishments hearing from people that it was time to shut down and that multiple people were shot. If you're just joining us, there are 10 dead. That includes the shooter. 9 victims dead this morning after a mass shooting in the Oregon District just a few minutes after 1 o'clock. 26 injured. They are scattered at hospitals across the Miami Valley. 1, we're being told at Miami Valley Hospital, still in critical condition.
Okay. We have a woman on the phone with us now, Leslie Freitag. Leslie, I understand you were in Toxic Brew. How close to the shooting were you? What did you see? What did you hear?
Yeah, so I was right next to, the Ned Peppers was right next to where I was. Luckily, I was inside of Toxic Brew, but it just heard like a bunch of pop, kind of like fireworks. And then people were just falling into the bar, not like just walking, just falling on top of each other, and people were pulling each other down.
Leslie, Adam Marshall here. If you don't mind me asking, when you were in the bar, were people running into the bar for safety? Were people running out of the bar in fear and then realizing the shooting was happening in the street and returning? Just explain the circumstances to me.
No, it was weird. Like, there's really not much to say, but it was running into the bar, realizing that it was outside. And then the bartenders and everyone else that worked there, they started pulling people upstairs off the floor. We ended up going upstairs for probably like half an hour.
And that leads me to my next question. I didn't know if you huddled in place. I didn't know, did police officers enter the establishment there at Toxic Brew and allow you to come out one at a time? What happened once the shooting stopped? We all know this happened very quickly. We know it was in the street. We know it was over in less than a minute. So my question is, after you all gathered, you realized the shooting was over, you saw police presence, what were the steps taken at that point?
So we actually didn't see any police. I guess it's that some of the employees of Toxic Brew did. And they just let us go back out, but we couldn't go back through the front door. They let us out like a side kind of delivery door, and then through the back alley. And then after that, it was just, we couldn't really see much. There was just so many like lights from police officers.
Were you able to make it to your vehicle? Did your friends gather and stay on the scene? What happened at that point?
Yeah, we were a couple blocks away from the apartment that we were at, so we just were able to walk home safe.
Well, let me just say on everyone's behalf, we're so glad you're safe. We're glad you're safe. Your friends are safe. Go ahead, Sharon.
Leslie, I just want to ask you, what's your emotional state? How are you feeling? Did this seem surreal to you? What effect has this had on you?
It's just, we keep telling that like there's a bunch of us at the apartment. It's just weird. There's not really much. I'm still in shock. My roommate is like, she cried and then I cried, and it's weird because you don't think it's gonna happen to you until it does.
All right, Leslie. Well, thank you so much. We'll let you get back to getting a hold of your friends and family, letting them know you're safe. We appreciate it. Again, that was Leslie Freitag. She was inside Toxic Brew as the shooting happened. She explained that people were falling into Toxic Brew, and then they took them correct, and then they took them upstairs, and eventually, it appears employees or management there allowed them to leave about 30 minutes later. However, they did have to exit a side door, not the front door, obviously because they don't want to lead out to what was absolutely horrific scene. I believe we have an official statement from the Oregon District, is what I'm told. So as soon as we have that, we'll go ahead and put that up on your screen. Again, we've heard from Mayor Nan Whaley. We've heard from Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. He's issued a statement. Of course, the Dayton Police Department, while we wait on that, they're urging anyone who wants to know additional information to call 333-8430. We'll get back to that in a moment. However, this is the official Oregon District statement from their Facebook page. It says, in part, we are devastated by this tragic, senseless event. We are incredibly thankful for the quick response of our Dayton Police Department and all first responders. We are heartbroken for the victims and their families. You know, there's a theme here, Cheryl, that on every statement that's being issued, whether it's from, whether it's a witness account that Molly Koick heard moments ago, whether it's the Oregon district, whether it's the governor, whether it's the mayor, we're hearing that they're thankful to the Dayton Police Department. And my goodness, it's unbelievable. And to think of what happened in less than 60 seconds, my goodness, think if the officers did not run toward the bullets, did not run toward the scene, the mayor said, and I quote, hundreds of people could be dead. So we want to get now to, we're going to continue our Team 7 coverage, so stay with us. We will gather all the latest information. We now want to get to Gabrielle Enright. She joins us live from our newsroom. Gabrielle.
I've been talking with family members of one of the victims. They are a friend of mine. They came back from vacation and they said that they got a message that their son was in surgery at one of the local hospitals, Kettering Medical Center. Just got an update from them. They said that he was still in surgery, but things were looking good. So that's a very positive thing. We've been hearing that he had some internal injuries, and I'm glad to be able to report that. I did ask, not only being a reporter, but also being a friend, I did ask them if they wanted to say anything. They said at this time they cannot. So, but I am pleased to hear that it looks like he's moving in a positive direction. I also was talking with some other people. I'm getting messages from people just waking up to this. Many of them telling me I was supposed to go last night, or my friend was down there. I'm just checking to see where they are. So as people are waking up this morning and hearing this tragic news, many of them still experiencing that shock we all did in the middle of the night and the overnight hours. So I also put a message into my dad. My dad is a retired Dayton firefighter, and he is part of a crisis team that was called in overnight that will go speak with first responders. And I was asking if he could maybe walk us through that particular scenario, not necessarily telling us what he's dealing with. That is not something that they're able to share, but just talking about dealing with the first responders. That's a traumatic incident, even for a police officer. You train and you train, hoping you never have to use that training. They will tell you that time and time again. We see it at Air Force bases. We see it fire drills. We see it with police officers. We see it in schools. And they always say, hey, we're training for something we hope never ever happens. And it happened in the Oregon district and the training. You also look at just how good that training is. If the shooter was there and wearing body armor and they were able to take that shooter down in less than a minute, you look at the skill set that we have on the Dayton Police Force. You have to look at all of that. And as I'm talking with a lot of the people that I know that go down to the Oregon district, in fact, Cheryl, you and I were talking about it. We go down there for dinner. I was just on a pedal wagon recently for someone's birthday. We experienced that downtown. We were stopping into a lot of those little places for brunch. These are things that we all do, things that we will continue to do. But you hear about the body armor, you hear about the magazines, the extra ammo, and it just really puts things into perspective, which way this could have gone, and how it did, and the families that are affected, and how 10 lives are changed. People hearing all of this morning, waking up and seeing this right now.
You know, thanks, Gabby, for that. I'm seeing a couple of people on Facebook. We want to clarify a couple of things. So one of my friends is saying, you know, she's concerned that there's a second shooter on the loose. So police and in the mayor's news conference within the hour did make clear that they don't believe there's anyone else involved, that there was one shooter and that person is dead. But she's also telling me this, that there's a phone number that the city is giving out for families to contact, 937-333-8430. She's saying the mailbox is full. So I don't know if anybody from the city is listening, and I don't know if there's someone actively answering that phone, but if people are getting through and getting the mailbox and it's full, I'm sure that's a frustration for families. Those families can go to the Dayton Convention Center, but we have been telling you to call that number. Yeah. And if it is full, there's the number on your screen, the number to call. But again, I'm being told by someone on Facebook that 333 number, the mailbox is full. Now, the second number that you see there, the 225-6217, that is for anyone who has information about the shooting. Perhaps you witnessed it, perhaps you saw something beforehand. Do you have any information at all about this shooting or the shooter or what may have happened here? You can call that 225-6217 number. But families who are wondering about the status of loved ones, their conditions, or where they are, can call that 333 number.
And again, we do want to mention, if you cannot get through on the 333-8430 number, there's a good chance that they are still catching up on all of the calls. I'm sure they were flooded with that you do have another option, and that would be to physically go to the Dayton Convention Center, where they do have a family assistance center there set up. So this is all going to take some time to set up.
When you're talking about 9 people dead, 9 innocent victims dead, and 26 others that we know of at this point injured in less than a minute. And then the countless other people who were down there who, like the one gentleman that Molly Kowick interviewed earlier, Robert, said he was within feet of the shooter and he ran and he lost his cell phone and his car keys. So he didn't have any way to contact family to say, hey, I'm okay. He didn't have his car keys to get home. So there can be incidents like that. If you are someone who was down there and you haven't been in contact with your family yet, and may be concerned about you, please let them know, or mark yourself safe on Facebook, to let them know, to put people's concerns at ease, because there are a lot of very, very worried and anxious people this morning trying to find out if their loved one was one of those injured or killed in this horrific mass shooting in the Oregon district at 1 o'clock this morning.
We are hearing that we will get another update from Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley coming up in less than 2 hours. However, as our team of reporters here at News Center 7 continue to dig for the latest, surveillance video is going to come out, cell phone video is going to come out. We will have all of that. I know we have new video. I believe this may be Ring video, the doorbell of surveillance video. So this is it, of a nearby business. And you can see right here people trying to hide. We're just going to take a moment and watch this video.
All right, we're going to come back to you now. We had some Ring video from one of the businesses in the Oregon district, but we're not getting much out of this. It looks like somebody is maybe hiding up against the door away from the shooter.
It also looked like maybe they had their arms around someone in front of them, and they were both backed up to that business and that door. But again, as surveillance video comes in, let's also remember there will be body camera video from the first responders that have showed up. So again, in the coming hours and days, we will dig for all of this and bring it to you. But if you're just joining us, we are now past 8 o'clock this morning. We're running on about 7 hours since this incident happened. We have confirmed 9 victims dead, 26 injured, and then the shooter was also killed. So 10 total dead, 9 of them being victims. Of course, all of this happening in less than 60 seconds. That's when we're told Dayton police engaged with the shooter and killed the shooter. We're told that shooter, we do not know their identity, but we do know it was a man. The mayor referenced him as he. We also know from the police department that he was wearing body armor and that he had a semi-automatic rifle with a .223 caliber high capacity magazine with extra magazines. That is why the mayor said, had the police officers not responded and neutralized that threat within less than 60 seconds, that hundreds of people could be dead. A very busy, popular area on a wonderful Saturday night. Mother Nature could not have been nicer last night into this morning. And again, witnesses saying it was crowded and there was just random shooting and people dropping everywhere.
Just horrific. And when you think about how much worse this could have been, as bad as it is, it's just alarming to think what violence this person could have perpetrated with all those extra magazines that he had to go in his weapon. He was wearing dark clothing, had a hood up and a mask on, according to a witness, and even some kind of earmuffs or headphones. The one witness who was right there within feet of him described the gunfire as very loud, and he was just panicking, running to get away. Our Kayla Corbell is downtown outside the convention center. Kayla?
Cheryl, I'm outside of the convention center, as you just said. This is where families have been urged to come, friends and families, to get news about their loved ones who may have been involved as victims in this shooting. Just now, over the last 5 minutes or so, we've started to see families come out. Now, up until this point, they've been told they don't know anything. They were still working on IDing people and finding out which hospitals everyone was at, and then the condition that they were in. And now that we're seeing people come out, it has been horrific. horrific to watch them get the news about their loved ones. I know one person came out just wailing, saying that their loved one had died. Another group of people that we spoke to earlier this morning, they said they didn't even they were in the Oregon district last night. I just spoke with them again. They also got some very bad news after that. They've been coming out here at the convention center and then down the road here as well. You can see this road, 5th Street, still blocked off here just west of the Oregon district. So a lot of people, obviously, they're not looking to talk to the media right now. They're grieving. It's very devastating what's happening here right now. But a lot of people still in there. They don't know the condition of their loved ones who are there. A lot of people saying that they were just here just in case their loved one was there because they can't get a hold of them. So a lot of questions still need to be answered. The American Red Cross is here. There is an ambulance here in case anyone needs it. Clark County Emergency Management is here. They also had therapy animals that they were bringing in today. So it's a joint effort here at the convention center. The mayor also here. Police officers are here as well. So we're just waiting now to get an update. More people coming out now, just absolutely sobbing after hearing about what has happened. So we're going to continue to stay here. I know Mayor Nan Whaley will be talking to us again this morning at 10 a.m. So we'll have another update then, and we'll continue to monitor this area as well and let you know what's going on. Reporting live, Kayla Prevel, News Center 7.
And Kayla, thank you. We'll let you go on and gather more information. Just moments ago, you saw there over her shoulder a man and woman walking down the street. He had his arm around whoever that was, his loved one, whether it be his wife or his sister or a loved one. But she described it as people coming out and wailing. I could hear it. I know Kayla personally. Obviously, we all know each other, and you could hear her voice cracking up there because even on our end of things, it's difficult to watch someone essentially in the very worst moment of their life. And then as you saw the scene there, you walk out on the street and Cheryl, where do you go? What do you do when you learn that a loved one was killed and you walk out and there you are, the sun's coming up. It's a Sunday morning. As of midnight last night, many of these people were just lying in bed like any other night. And now their lives have been
gotten
turned
the worst
upside down.
possible news, and whatever plans you had, you don't remember what they were because now you have to deal with the loss of a loved one and
it's awful.
Putting that person to rest and for what? For the most senseless reason because somebody decided to open fire and shoot innocent people who are out enjoying their Saturday night. So now we have 9 innocent people dead in the city of Dayton this morning after this horrific mass shooting in the Oregon district right outside on East 5th Street this morning. Not in any particular bar, no establishment there. This person dressed in dark clothing, a hood, a mask, carrying a long gun that was had extra magazines with him, was obviously bent on killing people, shooting people, and as a result, in the violence that he perpetrated in less than a minute before police shot and killed him, he was able to kill 9 people and wound 26 others. That number went up in the last hour. We'd heard 16 all morning, and then Mayor Whaley is the one who told us there were 26 injured, and some of those could have been hurt trying to flee, but most of those are gunfire victims, gunshot victims, and this is just the type of thing we never want to have to report.
But we are going to continue to do what we do best, and that is continue our Team 7 coverage. So I do want to just kind of set this up and let you know we do have Molly Coick, we have Monica Castro, we have Mike Campbell, we have Kayla Gravel, Sean Cudahy, Gabrielle Enright, Cheryl, myself. We have Sky 7 above the scene. We are going to be there throughout the morning. Right now, we do want to get back to Molly Coick. She was there not long after all of this happened. I know I listened on AM 1290 and News 95.7 WHIO on my way in live of our coverage as she was speaking with that first witness. And I'll be honest, my jaw dropped. I could not believe what this man was saying. It's amazing, Molly, that he was able to stand there and speak with you. It's amazing that he's alive this morning and wasn't shot. So what are you seeing there on scene as we continue to gather new information?
You're right. It is amazing because he was so close. So one thing that I'm seeing all over social media is people offering their thoughts and their prayers. And on this very, very abnormal moment, we do have one sign of normalcy. Just a couple of minutes ago, church bells very close to the scene, started going off, letting people know that mass will be starting soon. And so it's just this one little bit of normal on this very, very strange day, because if we turn the camera just a little bit back to the scene, you can see it's just a stone's throw away from that church. Police have now roped off even more of this area with caution tape. We're right behind Ned Pepper's on 5th Street. And the witness I spoke with said that the shooting happened kind of in front of these buildings. And he described just how terrifying it was for him. He was just a few feet away from the shooter. And like so many people, he had to run for his life. Take a listen.
I just parked down behind Omega Records, and I started walking towards, I guess, east on 5th. And by the time I got to the middle of the Oregon, just gunshots, just loud gunshots just everywhere. You couldn't hear nothing but that. Everybody's just screaming and running, just trying to get away.
How close were you to the shooter?
Within 5 to 10 feet. He was like, I was on one side of the car and he was on the other side of the car, shooting at everybody. Like when we ran to the front of the car, he was shooting at us that way. We ran to the back of the car, he started shooting at us there until the officer came and started shooting it out with the guy. The officer saved all of us.
What was it like to be feet from him?
It's the most scariest feeling I ever had in my life. Like, I've never been that scared before.
Can you describe for us what he looked like?
I mean, you really couldn't see. He had a mask on and he had his hood pulled up and he had like some big earphones on, so you really couldn't see him. You just seen a dark figure.
Okay. Yeah. And so you ran as fast as you could.
Exactly. Immediately. As soon as the gunshot started, I started running. Then the direction I was running, some guy got shot in the head. He fell right in front of me, so I tried to run the other way. And when I did that, my phone and my keys flew out of my pocket and flew under somebody's car. And like I said, I ran to the other way. Then bullets, people started dropping that way, so I turned and started crawling, trying to go the other way. But then people started falling that way, so I thought I was about to die to the officer. He was like standing over the top of me, like, and he started shooting at the guy. So he saved everybody that was out here.
And where exactly was that?
Right here in front of Ned Peppers.
Oh my goodness. Well, we are so glad that you are safe, and that you were able to get away. Obviously, it's an extremely tragic night for so many people. Why are you still down here?
Because, like I say, when I was running from the guy, my keys and my phone fell, and so I can't call nobody to come get me, and I can't go to my car because the police got everything blocked off, and they won't let us get our property. So now I'm just down here stuck. All right, so if anybody's seeing this, can come pick me up, please. I'm in the Oregon district. Come get me.
All right. Well, Robert, thank you so much for taking the time to share what you went through in that terrifying experience. Thank you. Cheryl?
And again, that was Molly Coic on scene there a few hours ago, speaking with Robert Woodruff. He was a witness. My goodness, Cheryl and I were just speaking as we were listening to that.
That's the third time I've seen his interview since Molly did that earlier this morning. And every time I'm glued. He just grips me with what he's saying, how he describes what he witnessed and what he saw and how close he came to being shot and killed. And the fact that he lost his car keys and phone, it's hardly even a concern. He needed a way home. Hopefully he's home by now. But to think that what's usually so important to you on a daily basis, on a minute by minute basis, does not matter anymore. All you're doing is you're scrambling to save your life from this person who's just shooting at people willy nilly.
I just wanted to mention at 8:15, talk about a man that's grateful to watch the sun come up.
Yeah.
As the sun does come up, many people still scrambling at this exact moment to find out if their family members or loved ones are alive or injured. We know this becomes complicated because once you realize, let's say your family member is alive but a victim, then you have to figure out which one of the hospitals that your loved one is at. And that too can be very difficult. We've been giving out a number, and that number is 333-8430. That is the Family Assistance Center line. They are set up there at Dayton Convention Center, where we have a team of News Center 7 reporters. But again, we were told, Cheryl received a message not long ago saying that mailbox was full. So we are asking if city officials are watching us right now, if you could please be aware that the mailbox is full. Again, that's 333-8430. I'm sure they're doing everything they can to field all of these calls. As we know, they will come in a wave as people wake up this morning now at 8:16 and realize, wait, what has happened? So let me just take a moment, Cheryl, if it's okay with you, to just give the viewers, to let all of you know exactly what we're dealing with. Again, if you're just waking up on this Sunday morning, take a look at your screen. That is a snapshot of the mass shooting that happened about 7 hours ago right here in the Miami Valley. We're talking about the very popular downtown Oregon district on what was a beautiful Saturday night into Sunday morning. We have a total of 10 dead. 9 of those are victims. 1 of the dead is the shooter, again, killed by police in less than 1 minute, but not before he was able to kill 9 and injure now 26 others. Now, the shooting started at 1:07 in the morning. It was just outside of Ned Pepper's. However, it has not been, we have no indication to believe that this involves any specific business. Right. It just happens to be that where the man was standing outside. We have seen Sky 7 video this morning, and goodness, it has to be shell casings that they have marked, and there are many of them. We are gathering details on the shooter himself. Here's what we know. We do not have an identity. They are referencing the shooter as a male. We heard from both witnesses and police that he was wearing body armor. He had black, all black on, a hoodie over his head, possibly a mask over his face, something over his ears. And we were confirmed that he was using a .223 caliber high capacity magazine on some sort of semi-automatic rifle. So again, we are still gathering the details there. It's important to note that 36 people were affected in less than 60 seconds. And the mayor stopped for a moment. She became visibly emotional, and she explained that he had extra magazines with him, and had Dayton police not ran toward the fire and mitigated that threat within less than 60 seconds, that hundreds of people could be dead. But needless to say, we are still looking at the worst mass shooting in the Miami Valley in probably recent history.
Yes, and maybe forever. I don't know that there's ever been like this. But, and you know, earlier we were talking about how the mayor refused to, rightly so, mention any particular business as being involved, because this was out in the street on East 5th Street in the 400 block. Yes, there are some bars nearby, but there's no indication, no confirmation that this had to do anything with any establishment there. And on that note, we were talking about how safe downtown Dayton is. Dayton as a whole, crime is down. Most violence of any type happens in private homes or in neighborhoods. So the Oregon district is very safe. Downtown is very safe. Dayton as a whole is very safe. And it's become a booming housing market. And just today, the Dayton Daily News has a front page article on the explosion in apartment housing, and how not just young millennials and young professionals, but it's also baby boomers looking to downsize. They quote one gentleman as saying that after his daughters graduated from college 2 years ago, he and his wife moved to the Delco Lofts, which are downtown right next to Fifth Third Field, not far from the Oregon district. And he said that, talks about how wonderful it is. We've enjoyed the festivals downtown. We've enjoyed the Second Street Market. We walk over to Levitt Pavilion. There is so much downtown to offer. There's never a lack of anything to do. And people of all ages go downtown. They go to the Oregon district. They go to Water Street district. They go to the Schuster and to the different breweries downtown and enjoy a weekend night like people were doing last night. And the story that you talked about, the two women in the bar, one who complimented the other. Tell me that story.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter that a young lady was describing that moments before this happened, she saw another young lady and she really appreciated her outfit and complimented her on her outfit. And then that woman complimented her back on her outfit, as young ladies often do out and about on a Saturday night. And she said, to put this in perspective, the very next time she saw that woman that she complimented her dress, she was dead. So that basically lets you know how quickly this happened for everyone. I also want to mention that Molly Cohen tweeted not long ago that a Ned Pepper's employee told her that he or she helped perform CPR on those that were shot. So again, you have first responders working with bar owners and managers and workers and restaurant employees there in the Oregon district doing everything they could to run and hide. And then if they couldn't, and once all of this was, once all the shooting stopped in less than 60 seconds, then it was a matter of trying to save everyone's life. So that is why we know that these 26 injured are in several hospitals across the Miami Valley, including Miami Valley Hospital. At last check, according to Dr. Randy Marriott, who is an emergency physician, was there at Miami Valley Hospital. They immediately went into code yellow, which is their disaster response mode. They say that they do have an active trauma team. They are trained for situations like this. They do not just leave it to chance, and they immediately went to work trying to save lives. At this point, of the 16 people they have seen, no one has lost their life, most of them gunshot victims. However, they do say they still have one person in critical condition. This coming on the tail end, if you just want to, take the overall perspective of this coming less than 24 hours after more than 20 people were killed in El Paso, Texas. We were speaking about, recent mass shootings in the Miami Valley, and really there are none. You dated back to many years ago when there was a mass shooting. However, as we all know, not long ago in downtown Cincinnati, there was a mass shooting on Fountain Square, again, a very popular area on the first floor there of the Fifth Third Bank building. We were saying we hope that Oregon District can be strong and bounce back to this, and people still go there and enjoy themselves there. That's what life is all about, right? And
right.
And hopefully we can bounce back from this. I was telling Cheryl, in full disclosure, I was in downtown Cincinnati last night, sitting on a patio near Fountain Square with my 10-year-old daughter having dinner, and there were many people out and about on a beautiful evening. That after a very big mass shooting in downtown Cincinnati. So that is a glimmer of hope to see that people are strong, they can bounce back. We know that the Miami Valley has already been through so much. The Memorial Day tornadoes took such a toll, people still trying to get their lives back in order after that. However, that was Mother Nature, and this is man-made, and those are two different things. Those are two different perspectives that you have to take. So we do know that city officials, the police department, the fire department, they're all doing what they can to help the families and friends involved. They have therapy dogs there at the convention center, and we know that may help very few people, but it may help someone. And that's why they're doing it. That absolutely.
We're looking at a live shot of the Dayton, Oregon district where 9 people were killed overnight. And earlier we were giving you the phone number that families can contact. There's also a posting by the Oregon district. And this, I'm going to read this as we look at the Oregon district on this Sunday morning. We are devastated by this tragic, senseless event. We are incredibly thankful for the quick response of our Dayton Police Department and all first responders. We are heartbroken for the victims and their families. Now, getting to the phone number part. Friends or family members of people who were in the area of the shooting can get information at the convention center, which we've been telling you, 22 East 5th Street in Dayton, or family members and friends can dial the following numbers for information. Listen closely. If you haven't been able to get through on that 333-8430 number, here are 3 more numbers that all start with 937-333. Okay, we got 937-333-8431, 937-333-8421, and 937-333-8428.
Wonderful.
These numbers are coming from the Oregon district itself. They posted these numbers that families can call. We want you to be able to get through if you can't make it down to the convention center. If you're desperately trying to find information on a loved one, haven't heard from them, you believe they were in the Oregon district last night, and you have not had contact and you don't know if they're safe, try to call one of those numbers. I'm going to repeat them again quickly.
Absolutely.
333-8431, 333-8421, and 333-8428. There is a separate number for anyone to call who might have information that could help police in this ongoing investigation. That number is 225-6217. And that's if you have a tip. Maybe you saw something, maybe, and sometimes it's the smallest thing you might have witnessed that maybe you don't even think it's that important. But police tell us repeatedly that any bit of information at all can help put this investigation together and bring it to light and help help us understand what happened here and, get this investigation along. That police say they believe there was only the one shooter, and that person is deceased, killed in less than a minute after he started shooting by police officers who were on assignment there in the Oregon district, and they did their job, and they did what they had to do, and they saved lives.
Cheryl, as you know, anytime there's a situation like this, someone saw the shooter before he started shooting. So I'm sure police are looking for those witnesses as well, where he came from, what he was doing prior to this, and what may have led up to this. I do want to mention quickly, we were talking about that not only people in the Miami Valley, but now people across the world are receiving this information, being another mass shooting in the United States. So here we go. The president is now weighing in on this. So we've heard from the mayor, we've heard from Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, and now President Donald Trump is saying, he tweeted about 10 minutes ago that the FBI, local and state law enforcement are working together in El Paso and in Dayton, Ohio. Information is rapidly being accumulated in Dayton. Much has already been learned in El Paso. Law enforcement was very rapid in both instances. Updates will be given throughout the day. Again, that coming from the President of the United States, Donald Trump, just moments ago via his Twitter feed. That's now been shared nearly 2,000 times. It's been responded on nearly 8,000 times. So again, word of a mass shooting right here in the Miami Valley and Oregon district, spreading not only across the country, but across the world.
Not the kind of news that we want to have national news about us for.
I do want to mention, I mentioned you, about an hour ago during Molly's interview. I sat back and looked at you and said, I hope this is the very last time you and I have to do this.
Yeah.
And I mean that. I hope we never, ever get that call
I'd like
again.
it not to happen in any area
Anywhere.
of the country, but certainly not in our own community that we love, that we care about, that we cover, that we know people, that you're part of us, we're part of you. And just as when the tornadoes hit, again, that was a Mother Nature disaster. This is something in a completely separate, horrific category of its own, where someone could decide for whatever reason, and everyone has their frustrations, and there are a lot of people in pain and wanting to lash out for whatever reason, and that's never going to go away. But for someone to take it out on deciding to load up a semi-automatic rifle and go downtown, and while people are enjoying themselves, to just open fire and kill 9 people and wound 26 others is just it's
heartbreaking.
It is. It's heartbreaking, and just I'm still in disbelief that this happened here.
We've heard the Dayton Police Department did their job to their very best ability, and all we can promise you is now we will do our jobs to our very best ability. You can count on News Center 7 throughout the morning for continuing Team 7 coverage. Here we go. This is a Turner tweet, and again. And here's what he says. My daughter and friend fled into the Oregon district and contacted me at 2 a.m. As they ran home, I followed their progress and prayed for them and our community.
Mike Turner has 2 daughters. Jessica's 27. Carolyn is 25. I don't know which daughter he is referring to. They're both fine young women. One of them in law school. The other one, I think, just joined the military to go to medical school, I believe. So I don't know which one of them was home and in the Oregon district this morning. But thankfully, his daughter and her friend are safe. And he's feeling as a parent, too, the same thing that we all feel. You're concerned for your children.
Yeah. Again, the good news here, the highlight is they contacted him at 2 a.m., which we know was nearly an hour after the shooting began. So if that's happening, we know they are safe. But my goodness, there are a lot of people that are still waiting for that phone call. There are a lot of people that will not receive that phone call. This is the tweet that I mentioned moments ago. If you're just joining us, the president now being briefed on what has happened right here in the Oregon district in Dayton. And he says, quote, he tweeted, the FBI, local and state law enforcement are working together in El Paso and in Dayton, Ohio. Information is rapidly being accumulated in Dayton. Much has already been learned in El Paso. The tweet goes on. I believe we're working on a graphic for that as well. We're also hearing from Mike DeWine, Ohio's governor. We're also hearing from Mayor Nan Whaley. So we will keep a close eye on all of these things. All of this happened at 1:07 this morning. That is when we first heard that there was an active shooter. If you're just joining us now at 8:30.
And I think a
on
lot of
Sunday
people
morning.
are. I'm just now starting
Yep.
to hear from people
Sure.
who are waking up to this news. And at 1:07 is the time that take a look at your screen.
Look at
As
that.
Adam pointed, this is your snapshot of what happened here in Dayton just 7+ hours ago. 35 people shot, 26 of them injured, 10 dead, including the shooter, but that includes 9 innocent people. The shooting started at 1:07 a.m. outside Ned Pepper's. It says police responded in less than 1 minute. I can tell you that not only did they respond in less than 1 minute, they put an end to this violence by neutralizing the shooter in less than a minute. The shooter was deceased. And, he had this high-capacity magazine,
Yeah.
a semi-automatic rifle.
Yep.
He had extra clips with him.
Body armor.
Body armor he was wearing. He was loaded, and he had dark clothing on. He had a hood up. He had a mask over his face. He was determined to shoot and kill, which he did before police were able to put him down, as is their job. They were on routine patrol. They were in close proximity. Thankfully, or as police and the mayor have said, this could have been much worse, and we would be reporting more casualties this morning. And unfortunately, as tragic as this is, 9 people dead, 26 injured. Yes, this could have been much worse.
The mayor understandably said that this will be a day filled with prayer, and this is a day that we all dread. I do want to mention, if you're just waking up and you're not sure if your loved one, family member was involved in this, there are things you can do. So let's talk about this for a moment.
Added the helplines here.
Absolutely. So there's a family assistance center set up at the Dayton Convention Center. And with that, a number of lines that you can call. There are now options. The reason being, the original number was 937-333-8430. Again, 333-8430. Told that line was being flooded with calls. The mailbox was full. That was the original line you see right there on your screen. So now there are options. Okay. Well, first of all, okay, let's talk about this number. If you have information on the shooting, if you were a witness, if you have any information that investigators may want to know, that's the number right there highlighted on your screen, 937-225-6217. That is not the number to call for information. That's the number to call to give information. The number above that, the 8430, that's the number to call if you're looking for information. However, we were told recently that mailbox is full, so now there are new lines, so let's talk about them. They all start with 937-333. This one, 8421, that's one option. The next one is 8431, and then we have one more option, and that is 8428. So you can call 333-8430, 8431, 8421, or 8428. Now, 4 separate lines to gather information if you believe someone you love or know has been hurt or injured and you're trying to get information. We heard from our reporters, Kayla Cravel was visibly shaken as she stood outside the Dayton Convention Center where people are showing up to find out if their loved ones are okay. And unfortunately, for some, the answer is going to be no. She described it as people coming out wailing with emotion after realizing that their loved one did not make it. What a horrible moment.
Our reporters are witnessing people hugging each other.
Yeah.
And Wayne Baker with the Dayton Daily News was at the Arby's just north of the Oregon District, and saw people hugging each other, and they were just people leaning on each other because this is what they need in the aftermath of witnessing such horrific violence or knowing that a loved one was affected. We're looking at the earlier video, and you saw the Arby's there. Right now, my daughter, who's out of the country, is texting me. She just heard about it, and of course she's concerned because she's 27. She has friends who are in their 20s who go down to the Oregon District. Many of them live downtown now and frequent those areas, and so she's very upset to hear about this shooting and worried about her friends.
Speaking of being upset, Cheryl, I do want to mention we were just talking about Kayla there at the convention center. She just tweeted that there are now 3 ambulances in front of the convention center. We had heard earlier that they took a straight side. Again, these are people learning the very worst news of their life here this morning.
Can you imagine?
And I'm sure that some people are having health problems because of that. So there are now 3 ambulances parked in front of the convention center as people continue to hear word on whether or not their family loved ones made it.
When you get that kind of news, it's the worst possible news you can get about your loved one, and I don't know if the senselessness of it makes it any worse or not, but to hear that somebody went out on a Saturday night and to enjoy themselves, they were downtown and they didn't come home because somebody decided to open fire. My nephew is safe, thankfully.
Good.
Yeah, he lives close by. His mother just let me know. I'm glad.
Okay. All right. Well, if you're just joining us, I'm glad. I'm glad for you. If you're just joining us here, 8:36. Excuse me. We had a mass shooting in the Oregon district overnight. Many people weighing in now. Here's what we know. All right. Let's take a deep breath, and we're going to give a recap here, okay? Here's what we need. I do want to mention that we have Team 7 coverage. We have Molly Koick, we have Monica Castro, we have Mike Campbell, Kayla Cravell, Sean Cudahy, and Gabrielle Enright. She is in our newsroom right now. Gabrielle, I understand you're still gathering information.
Right. And just the emotion, listening to all these text messages, these messages that I'm getting, everyone just waking up and hearing all of this right now. And then listening to the fact that you said that there's ambulances out there and people getting this information. There's an overwhelming sense of relief if you feel and you hear that your loved one is okay, but people are still crying. There's also an overwhelming sense of fear that one word that you could hear from the first responders might be something that you don't want to ever hear. My friends got a call. They were coming back from vacation, and they got a call that their son was in surgery. I am thankful to report that he is on the positive end of this. They say that his surgery was going well. I asked them if they wanted to speak about it. As you can imagine, they were very emotional about this. But, you look at these images, these live pictures, and I've been watching Kayla, and I was listening to Mike. Even as a reporter, we're people, and we know a lot of people involved. And, my stepsister was at a bar next door. My dad has been called in. He's a retired Dayton firefighter. He's part of a crisis team that is now down there counseling and talking and making themselves available. I was talking again about several people that I knew that were supposed to be down there last night. They're sending us messages. They're saying I should have gone there and met my friend, but I didn't. We changed our plans at the last minute. There's that feeling a little bit of, I don't know if it's guilt. There's some people that feel kind of guilty that they survived and maybe other people did not, or their friends were down there and they feel like they should have been there. Cornelius Froelich was tweeting earlier that he was supposed to be down there and actually meet in front of Ned Peppers. And this is a place I was just a couple of weeks ago. We were celebrating a friend's birthday. We were out in the Oregon district on one of those pedal wagons, and we'd stepped in for brunch with some people. So, seeing these images, the most interesting photo that I saw was one taken by Dayton Daily News reporter Amelia Robinson, and it was a pile of shoes. And if you haven't seen that yet, it will really stick with you. And the reason I say that is because these people ran for their lives, and we don't know if they survived. We don't know if they were injured. We don't know if they are safe. But there's a pile of shoes there. And listening to Molly Koick earlier, she said a couple of blocks from the scene, there was blood. And there's that photo of the shoes that I was just talking about. These are people that ran so fast to try and escape what was happening there that they lost their shoes. And they didn't look back. They didn't try and pick them up. There was a man that Molly Koick was talking with earlier. He said that he left his cell phone. I was talking to Monica Castro earlier. People left everything behind. So this is really just thinking in about what it would be like if this happened to you, and people just, they can't even wrap their heads around it. Even as a news reporter, Cheryl, I was telling you earlier, the only mass shooting that I remember that's even close to this number of people locally was Pike County, and that was involved a family. And so when I start thinking about any type of violence in Dayton, and I've been here 22 years, even as a child growing up in this area, I just don't remember anything like this, especially in the Oregon district, a place that so many of us grew up in, so many of us frequent, and listening to the stories that are coming out of there, the stories of survival. And then also, I'm getting questions about where people can donate blood. The community is once again rallying around what's happened in Dayton. They're asking, they want to know how to help. So I think that's another portion as we move into this that we'll be digging into is can people donate blood? Is there a need for that? What can people do to help? And I'm sure we'll be getting into that within the next probably few hours.
Yeah, I'm hearing from so many people now as people are waking up, Gabrielle. And like I said, I got emotional because I heard from my sister that her son is safe. He lives downtown, not in the Oregon district, but close by and frequents, they go to trivia night, at some of these places. And it's just it's a wonderful place for young people and people of all ages to go and enjoy themselves. And they have so many friends down there. And I feel like we all have so many connections of people who go down there, who could have been down there, who probably were down there at some point. And it's just, there's also that relief that comes with knowing that your loved ones are okay, but still the concern for everybody else's. We heard from Mayor Nan Whaley earlier. We're going to take another listen to something that she said earlier now. Here we go.
Going to be a very difficult time for at least 10 families in our community, and their lives has completely changed. But in addition to the 26 that are injured, it could be many more that lives are changed.
And she's so right about that. Lives are changed. We also have Newsletter 7 Sean Cudahy. He is at Grandview Hospital talking with a doctor there. They have received some of the wounded from this horrific mass shooting in the Oregon district last night that rendered 9 people dead and 26 others injured. Sean, what do you know this morning?
Cheryl, just a few minutes ago, I spoke with one of the emergency room doctors who was on duty here at Grandview Medical Center, obviously one of the closest hospitals to the Oregon district. So here's what I've been able to find out in just the last couple minutes, going through my notes right here. According to this doctor, 9 patients came here to Grandview Medical Center. Room team here on duty at the time had 1 to 2 minutes notice that they were on the way here. So just imagine they had to drop everything, prioritize and get ready for this huge influx of patients, unlike anything he said he's seen in a decade at Grandview. So arrived at the at Grandview emergency room right here. 3 were in serious condition. Now, 2 of those patients were sent to the operating room. 1 of those patients is
okay. I'm going to go to my church.
For surgery, we're told. Now, out of those 9, also 3 in fair condition that are still.
Your country kill itself. Incredible from Europe to see country in peace and kill cook. Yes, Joe, you're right, Joe. Yep, we love guns. We love guns more than we love people. Yeah, false flag. I agree. We love guns more than we love people and peace.
The folks fleeing, the chaos in the moments after the shooting, and we've heard that from other hospitals and police officers as well. That some of these injuries are not just from the gunshots, but you can imagine the commotion that we've been hearing about all morning with those folks fleeing the area. Some of those injuries as a result of that, some lacerations, that kind of thing. But no patients so far. This is the good news here at Grandview Medical Center.
Where's my ring?
He mentioned 3 of those in serious condition, with 1 possibly going to go into surgery at some point this morning. And we've also been in touch with Premier Health throughout the morning. I was just talking a little while ago.
What did I do with my ring?
Premier Health, they tell me they're going to do some sort of briefing a little bit later this morning. They're working to get that scheduled. They got even more patients. I think at last count we heard of the 16 patients that were brought to Miami Valley Hospital Miami Valley Hospital.
Come on, ring.
We're working to get some more information from them throughout the morning. But here at Grandview Medical Center, they went in. They said this is the type of situation that they prepare for, unlike they did 10 years ago. They said they're more prepared now than they ever have been before. But you go through these hurdles and you just never anticipate that this is going to be something that you actually have to
come on, Megumi.
Motion. These sort of plans, they went to a yellow. They immediately were able to start bringing in extra staff that was off duty. And of course, it was early on a Sunday morning. Many people on duty compared to another time of day, and they were able to bring in the resources that they need. Again, 1 to 2 minutes of preparation time before these patients arrived here. So. 9 patients here, 3 of those in serious condition, and this is a situation we'll continue to monitor, as well as checking in with Premier Health and the situation over at Miami Valley Hospital.
Where are my shoes?
Prepare that. I'm so glad to hear that they haven't had any fatalities at any of the hospitals where the 26 injured have been taken. Thank you for that, Sean. such credit goes to not only the people who are first on the scene, the police officers, the firefighters, the medics, but also those healthcare professionals who are waiting at the hospitals, preparing rapidly to take care of these people coming in, determining whether they need to go to surgery, what kind of care and treatment they need, doing a tremendous job. So we're proud of all of you. I do want to mention there is, for those of you like me who are sitting at home and you're wondering, what can I do besides maybe donate blood or do something positive in the wake of this horrific violence in Dayton overnight? There is a vigil downtown at the Levitt Pavilion near the convention center at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Might I point out that will be 12 hours exactly since this violence broke out at 1:07 a.m. when this gunman walked along East 5th Street in the Oregon district, opened fire with a long gun, and felled 9 people dead, injured 26. Well, 26 others were injured either by gunshots or by trying to flee the scene before police officers who were fortunately on assignment nearby responded immediately and shot the shooter dead and stopped that violence. But the investigation is ongoing, and there are families all over and friends waking up all over wondering if their loved one is safe and trying to get that information. And what a few hours this is.
Now that the sun has risen, it is 8:47 on your Sunday morning, and again, all seems calm and quiet there, but the truth is, just about 7.5 hours ago, it was everything but calm and quiet. People were losing their lives, bullets were flying down the street, and people literally run to save their own life. The reason we have this shot, you can't see it now, again, because of that Dayton police cruiser that's there on the bottom right portion of your screen, but just behind that cruiser, there was a parking lot that's set up, completely taped off. In that parking lot, they have a few hats, but they have dozens of pairs of shoes. I believe our own music with Simmons Monaco put it very well that, many people were in sandals. There's a picture for back the shoes. It takes a second or two to put those shoes back on. That is a second or two that these individuals did not.
They were literally running for their lives. So who cares about
their shoes? That is correct. We do want to get to Center 7's Mike out of the Dayton Convention Center again. This is where people have been gathering. This is where we heard Caleb Gravel say just a few moments ago that people came out and waited after hearing the news that their loved one did not make it from the shooting.
Well, Adam, it's quieted down a little bit.
For you, Sabian.
Members of at least a half dozen families have left this convention center within the last 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
Almost all of them overcome with emotion.
Well, I'm going to sign off. Thank you guys for coming.
They heard the worst news imaginable, which is that a family member or friend of theirs was lost in this horrific shooting. Now, we are still staying in contact with city officials. They have not released any names of any victims at this point. They do expect to do an update with us about 10 o'clock. So at this point, that is just an hour away. We can tell you